Hi, welcome to the podcast. I'm Alexander Dartarian,
And I'm Dominic Sykes.
and this is the Dartarian Show.
Yep, it's
If
good.
you're listening to this, I'm assuming you listened to any other episode we've done.
Yeah, you would have to assume.
Yeah. But, yeah, we're going to talk about the Pirate King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Henry Avery himself.
Yep. Or also known as John Avery, friggin'
Long Ben,
Yeah.
Benjamin Bridgman.
the Arch Pirate, the
Mhm.
King of Pirates.
Yep.
So, this man has more names than people have underwear. So,
I guess he's earned them if you think about it.
yeah, and we're going to talk about a lot of that. If you guys have not listened to our Pirates episode, go back and listen to that. Although we are going to be repeating a lot of the stuff just because we have to talk about it.
Yeah,
Because
if
of the nature of what he is and the importance of him. So, yeah. What I know that most people, when they think of the Pirate King, they think of the anime One Piece.
One Piece, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And there is a lot of, I think the author of that also took heavy influences from him as well, Avery, because if you ever watch the show, there's a lot of similarities between the Pirate King and that and John or Henry Avery.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of information's not known about him before his piracy days.
Right.
But it's speculated by modern scholars that he was born on the 20th of August, 1659, in a village of Newton Ferriers, about 6 miles southeast of Plymouth.
Plymouth.
Plymouth, wow. Devon, England. They spelled it really weird. I guess it's the Old English spelling. He was, they suggest, according to parish records, that John Avery was the son of John Avery and his wife Anne, the maiden name unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And the Avery family of Devon was quite established at the time, and he was likely kinship to the Avery family of Wyckoft Castle. So he was
Pretty prominent.
He was a very prominent person, which kind of like I don't like you don't really assume those people would be pirates because
No,
they come from a lot of money, and as you know from our pirates episode, people became pirates because they were downtrodden.
In some cases.
They had no other option.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if because we're gonna do an episode later this season on Blackbeard. So, and a lot of people think Blackbeard was the king of pirates because he was the most famous pirate.
Yeah.
But because I had never heard of Henry Avery.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hadn't either before we started researching it, but
But as we learned about him,
yeah,
I started
definitely see
hearing.
why.
I started hearing about him.
Oh, everywhere.
That show Black Sails.
Yeah.
They mention him like every freaking episode. I'm like, how the frick did I not know about this?
Yeah, that's how it goes usually though. What's that called? Serendipity or something like that?
Synchronicity.
That's right. It's one of the two. But yeah, no, it's that thing where, you don't think of anything until you see it or hear it, and then all of a sudden you see it or hear it everywhere.
Yeah. Basically, the reason why they think he was born in 1659 is because William Phillips, a member of Avery's crew, who gave a voluntary confession.
Mm-hmm.
And we give, that word is, as we know.
In other words, he was tortured.
Yeah, he was very tortured.
Giving the information.
In August 1696, Avery was aged about 40 years. And his mother lived near Plymouth. And his wife was a periwig seller who lived in Ratcliffe Highway.
The hell is a periwig?
I don't know.
That's probably one of those things that don't exist anymore. One of those things that they had back in the day.
Yeah.
That they just don't have anymore. Like, the rack. Torture devices, stuff like that they had back then.
I was trying to look it up real quick.
Probably like some kind of...
Oh, it's a periwig is a person who sells wigs.
Oh, well, I guess that would common sense would.
Yeah.
Periwig, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, I guess because periwig would be like because everybody wore wigs back then.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, you don't think about the fact that fashion statements are such a big deal, but because like you look back in the past, and we think powdered wigs is probably like the dumbest look ever, but back then it was like the coolest thing. That was the symbol of high society. Is
the bigger the wig, the more important you
Yeah.
were. Or the nicer the wig, the bigger the wig, or the more importance you had.
Yeah. So, but
They still wear them in England and in courtrooms. The
Really?
judge wears wigs,
Yeah,
and
I do see
the
that.
lawyers and stuff. So Every was married to Dorothy Arthur. That was her name, the periwig seller, and they got married at St. James Duke's Place in London on the 11th of September, 1690. Though there's no evidence that they had any children.
so
So it seems like the family line ended with Henry.
yeah.
Speculated because, like I said, we don't know a lot about his life other than what he did as a pirate. And I've heard in my research, I've seen where a lot of the stuff might been made up a little bit, kind of like Blackbeard's reputation.
It's possible, yeah. It could be a bunch of. Well, the only thing we would have is the actual historical record. Sorry, of the ships that he took.
And it was really weird because they don't even have any records of him at all. Like when we go back and when we did Ed Kemper last week, we know about his childhood.
Yeah,
We know where he grew up, how many siblings he had, who his mother and father were, like what he did as a child. Like we know all of that.
Yeah,
Everything. But Henry Avery, they're guessing.
yeah. It's a different age. I mean, it's a lot easier in the 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s to keep track of of stuff than it was back then.
Yeah.
You know.
It suggested, or he probably was a sailor from youth, serving on various Royal Navy ships.
That's usually how they started
Yeah.
out.
Popular accounts state that Avery served aboard the English fleet bombarder in Algiers in 1671. Buccaneered in the Caribbean Sea, and even captained a longwood freighter in the Bay of Comanche. So, although these stories come from Van Breck's fictional memoir, so it's fake.
Right.
It's suggested that
Yeah.
that he must have at least served in the Royal Navy, because I mean most pirates did
Right.
serve in the Navy,
To
and
some extent or another.
yeah, and like we said in the Pirates episode, a lot of the times the sailors or the pirates came from sailor background because during the wars they were privateers, and then after the war they just kind of like stayed out there, like we can make more money just pirating and stuff. So he also was and was now in his early 30s at this point, right?
Right.
During this 9 years war, that obviously he was part of the war. He was said to been working as a midshipman aboard the 64-gun battleship HMS Rupert, under the command of Sir Francis Wheeler. Avery's naval records suggest he was something of a family man who spent little of his wages or extras, such as tobacco and regular, consigned his pay to his family.
Wow.
So, I mean, it doesn't seem like yet he's a bad guy.
No.
So, and like I said, we're going to get to his pirate time to see, because people do change. But he was a family man. He sent a lot of money back to his family. So, In mid 1689, HMS Rupert helped capture a large enemy French convoy off of Brest, France. This victory gave Avery an opportunity to better his fortunes, and by the end of July, he was promoted to master's mate. I'm not familiar with the I guess promotion status or rank of old British officers.
No, I'm not either.
But master's mate sounds pretty cool. I mean,
isn't like the Commodore like the top rank?
I believe so. I think Commodore in the Royal Navy is the highest, and then in ours it might be Admiral still, but
maybe
Commodore.
Admiral, yeah.
Commodore like controls multiple ships.
Yeah,
and the Admiral's like oversees the Navy. I don't know. I guess it would probably be the same for both for England and us because that's where we got most of our shit from was England. In 1690, he was invited to join Captain Wheeler on a new ship, the 90-gun HMS Albemarle. He likely participated in the Battle of Beachy Head against the French 2 weeks later, an engagement which ended disastrously for the English. On the 29th of August of that year, Avery was discharged from the Royal Navy. So he only served in the Navy for 4 years maybe. So that they know of. It does not say it doesn't say why he was discharged, but it might have had something to do with that. Maybe he didn't follow orders, or he didn't agree with what they were doing.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I mean, or he could have just been hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time you got hurt during these battles. A lot of splinters. That was shrapnel. Wood shrapnel was like the worst. The most way.
Yeah. And all the other normal sea diseases and stuff that you can get too.
And of course, we're talking about the 1600s and 1700s. Slave trade was huge back then. Avery's discharge from the Royal Navy, he entered the Atlantic slave trade. Between 1660 and 1668, the Royal African Company maintained a monopoly over all English slave trade, making it illegal to sell slaves without a license.
Wow.
So, I think it should be illegal to sell anybody at all.
Yeah.
But to ensure compliance, the Navy protected the company's interests along the West African coast. Although illegal, unlicensed slavery could be highly lucrative enterprise, as Avery was certainly aware of.
Yeah.
The prospect of profits ensured that violations of this company's monopoly by interlopers or unlicensed slavers remained a fairly common crime.
Yeah.
So, in 1693, Avery is identified in a journal prepared by an agent of the Royal African Company, Captain Thomas Phillips of Hannibal. So the boat Hannibal.
Yeah.
Or I guess I don't know if it would be HMS, but it's what they called. Then on a slaving mission on the Guinea coast, he writes, "I have nowhere upon the coast met." I can't read that word.
I would assume that HMS would stand for either Her or His Majesty's Service, correct? Or would that be something else? Okay.
Her Majesty's Service. I have nowhere upon the coast met the bad word, so shy as here, which makes me fancy that they have had tricks played them by such blades as Long Ben, alias Avery, who have seized them and carried them away. Avery was known to lure potential slave traders onto his ship by flying friendly English colors, then seize the slave traders themselves and chain them in the ship's hold alongside their former captives.
Smart.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been nicer if he freed them, if he freed the slaves.
Yeah, instead of just taking them and the slavers.
Yeah. Captain Phillips, who, according to his own writings, had come across Avery on more than one occasion.
Right.
May have known him personally. Also alluded to Avery as slave trading under a commission from Isaac Richer, the unpopular Bermudian governor, who was later removed from his post for bad behavior.
Being corrupt.
Yeah, bad behavior. Avery's slave trade employment was relatively undocumented. Right. They don't know for sure that he did this, but according to Captain Phillips' journals, he ran into him a lot.
Yeah.
So after that, he got into pirating. His first pirating was technically the slave trade, I guess. Just capturing ships and then taking them and stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So, in the spring of 1693, investors were led by Sir James Hoblawn, a wealthy merchant hoping to reinvigorate the stagnating English economy, assembled an ambitious venture known as the Spanish Expedition Shipping. The venture consisted of 4 warships, the Pink Seventh Sun, as well as the frigates Dove, James, and Charles II.
How inventive.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, the Seventh Sun sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
As a ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it the seventh son of a seventh son?
Really? That movie is so bad. Charles II had been commissioned by England's ally, Charles II of Spain, the ship's namesake.
Yeah.
Like I said, really inventive.
Yeah.
To prey on French vessels in the West Indies under a trading and salvage license from the Spanish. So they're literally like, yeah, go kill them.
Go ahead.
You have no quarter given kind of thing.
Which, as we talked about, in the Pirates episode,
the venture's mission was to sail to the Spanish West Indies, where the convoy would conduct trades, supply the Spanish with arms, and recover treasure from wrecked galleons, while plundering the French possessions in the area.
Yeah.
Yep. The investors promised to pay the sailors well. The contract stipulated a guaranteed monthly wage to be paid every 6 months throughout deployment, with the first month's pay paid in advance before the start of the mission. So they paid them.
Every government had their own pirates, too. Like, basically on-call pirates.
Yeah.
Everyone.
That's
the Spanish did, the French did, and the English did.
Yeah, which is kind of, if you think about it, because they cracked down on pirates a lot, it's because those pirates were like, we can make way more money being independent. Like, no one, like, same thing with people nowadays when they work for the government. Like, independent contracting is where you want to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because you make money. Hoblawn personally went aboard the ships and met the crew, reassuring them of their pay. Indeed, all wages up to 1st of August, 1693, not long before the start of the mission, were paid on that date. So, like, first of the month pay. As a result of his previous experience in the Navy, Avery was promoted to the first mate after joining the Spanish expedition. So we do know that he did join the Spanish expedition.
And now he's a first mate.
Yeah. The convoy's 4 ships were commanded by Admiral Sir John Arturo O'Brien. I probably said his middle name really wrong, but whatever.
Well, we've never been good with names. So.
No, if you've listened to any of the podcasts, like
you butcher every name we try to say.
It's all right, whatever. They know who they are.
Yeah,
an Irish nobleman who had previously served in the Spanish Navy Marines. The voyage was soon in trouble as the flag captain, John Strong, a career mariner, who had previously served as Sir Phipps, died when the ship was still in port.
Uh-oh.
He didn't even get out of port.
Yep, he died before he'd even left.
He was replaced by Captain Charles Gibson. This would not be the last of the Venture's misfortunes. He didn't even get out of the damn harbor and died. Can you imagine this? For like,
I'm gonna start my adventure on the seas today.
I wonder because if he was old, because it really doesn't say why he died. I wonder if it's because he was old, because like in the Royal Navy and stuff, or the Navy of Spain and stuff. A lot of times when you made it to captain or admiral and stuff, you're an old man.
Yeah,
old,
40s, 50s.
Yeah, old to their standpoint, you know. So like, or he could have just shit himself to death. That was a popular death.
Yeah.
in early August 1693, the 4 warships were sailing down the River Thames en route to Spain's northern city of Corunna. The journey to Corunna should have taken 2 weeks, but for some reason the ships did not arrive in Spain until 5 months later.
Well, if you got a whole bunch of people dying before they even leave port, of course they didn't make it on time. What other complications did they run into?
I have no idea.
The Kraken?
I guess. Worse still, the necessary legal documents had apparently failed to arrive from Madrid.
Oh, my God.
So the ships were forced to wait as months passed and the documents still did not arrive. The sailors found themselves in an enviable position.
I see.
With no money to send home to support their families and unable to find alternative sources of employment that had become virtual prisoners of Corunna.
I couldn't live back then because I can't stand waiting 2 days for something to show up in the mail. Can you imagine having to wait weeks
and months? Yeah,
and months just
without
to get
being
one
paid.
letter?
They weren't being paid at all.
No,
because they're paying them for the job and they're just sitting there.
Yeah,
like it would have been. I'm sure they would have been like, okay, we'll stay here as long as we get paid and stuff.
Right.
Like, can you imagine just working for months and months and months and just be like, oh, you haven't got paid because you haven't made it out of the Thames River.
Yeah, I'd be mad as hell.
Yeah. After a few months in port, the men petitioned their captain for the pay they should have received since the employment began. If this request had been granted, the men would no longer have been tied to the ship and could have easily left.
Yeah.
So basically, they weren't paying
held their
them.
pay in order to keep them there, which is bullshit. But
predictably, this petition was denied.
Yeah, I imagine.
After a similar petition to Hobblon by the men's wives had also failed, many of the sailors became desperate, believing that they had been sold into slavery to the Spanish. Because
probably what it seemed like.
Yeah, if you're not getting paid for work and you're working,
you're a slave.
I mean,
at least a servant.
A pseudo slave, I guess.
Yeah,
like you're not really a slave, but I guess to them that was probably the closest they ever wanted to get.
Yeah.
On the 1st of May, as the fleet was finally preparing to leave Corunna, the men demanded their 6 months' pay or threatened to strike.
Right.
Like, go on strike.
Yeah.
Or they could have been like, we're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Hobblon refused to bend to these demands, but Admiral O'Brien, seeing the seriousness of the situation,
knew better,
wrote to England asking for the money owed to those men. However, on the 6th of May, some of the sailors were involved in an argument with O'Brien, and it was probably around that time that they conceived a plan to mutiny.
Yeah.
And began recruiting others. One of the men recruiting others was Avery.
Oh, of course it was.
Yeah. As William Phillips, a mariner of Dove, the ship Dove, would later testify, Avery went up and down from ship to ship and persuaded the men to come on board with him, and he would carry them where they should get money soon enough. You know, like he was basically recruiting his crew.
Yeah.
Since Avery had a great deal of experience and was born in a lower social rank, he was a natural choice to command the mutiny.
Yeah.
But, he was higher than them, but lower than like the captains and stuff.
Right.
Like he was, I guess, like lower noble. Kind of like, not good enough to go to the parties, but good enough to have respect by them, like by the peasants. As the crew believed that he would have their best interests at heart. So basically they were like, he was the man of the people.
Yeah, he's the best bet we've got.
Yeah.
It's like unions.
Yeah.
Like they would elect a union official or whatever, and they're like, okay, this guy's for the people. We like this dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to make him union leader.
On Monday, the 7th of May, 1694, O'Brien was scheduled to sleep ashore, which gave the men the opportunity they were looking for. At approximately 9 p.m., Avery and about 25 other men rushed aboard Charles II and surprised the crew on board. Captain Gibson was bedridden at the time, so the mutiny ended bloodlessly.
Oh, well, I guess that's good.
Yeah. One account states that the extra men from the James pulled up in a longboat beside the ship and gave the password saying, Is the drunken boatswain on board?
What kind of password is that?
Oh, is the drunken boatswain? Yeah, swan. Yeah, but on
Boatswain,
board.
yeah.
Yeah. Before joining in the mutiny, Captain Humphreys of the James is also said to have called out to Avery that the men were deserting, to which Avery calmly replied that he knew perfectly well. The James then fired on Charles II, alerting the Spanish night watch, and Avery was forced to make a run to the open sea, quickly vanishing into the night. So the Captain Humphreys, was like, "Hey, there's a mutiny going on," and he's like,
man.
"Yeah, I know."
I'm the one leading it.
Yeah, I know. So they started firing on him, and they alerted the Spanish night watch.
Yeah.
So after sailing far enough for safety, after he got the fuck out of there,
Yeah.
Avery gave the non-conspirators a chance to go ashore, even offering to let Gibson command the ship if he would join their cause.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was like, I don't want to be captain. You can be captain, but
Yeah.
you have to join our cause.
Mm-hmm.
According to Charles Elms, Avery's words to Gibson were, "If you have a mind to make one of us, we will receive you. And if you turn sober and attend to business, perhaps in time I may make you up of my lieutenants. If not, here's a boat, and you shall be set to shore."
Right.
The captain declined and was set ashore with several other sailors.
Mm-hmm.
The only man who was prevented from voluntarily leaving was the ship's surgeon, whose services deemed too important to forego.
Yeah, they're like, all right, well, we need this guy. Sorry, you can't leave.
And a surgeon back then was just a doctor, or a medic, what we would call a medic. I think they called them surgeons for like a long time.
Mm-hmm. Even if they didn't actually perform the surgery.
Yeah. Barbers did surgery and dentist work and stuff, so it was weird how they, I guess we just have more names for people now.
Well, back then you had to kind of be a jack of all trades in some things.
Yeah, you really did.
In order to survive.
And like with surgeon back then was probably like you're just, it was guesswork.
Yeah. They didn't know what they were doing. Here, put this eel on whatever hurts on the full moon during the winter solstice.
Yeah. And you'll gain wings.
Yeah.
All of the men left on board the Charles II unanimously elected Avery as the captain of the ship. Because, as you know from the Pirates episode, captains were elected.
Yeah.
And if they fell out of favor, they were replaced.
Right.
Some reports say that Avery was much ruder in his dealings with Gibson, but agree that he at least offered him the position of second mate.
Yeah.
In either case, Avery exhibited an amount of gentility and generosity in his operation of the mutiny that indicates his motives were not mere adventure.
Right.
So he did it for a reason.
Well,
he had a good reason because they weren't paying them.
They weren't paying him.
Avery was easily able to convince the men to sail to the Indian Ocean as pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Since their original mission had greatly resembled piracy, and Avery was renowned for his powers of persuasion. He had like a silver tongue.
Yeah, this dude
when it came to
very charismatic.
Yeah, and with leaders, you have to be charismatic to be a good leader.
But the real question is, the most important thing that all of our listeners are probably going to be wanting to know about Henry Avery is, what is his devil fruit power?
Really? Yeah, because that's the most important thing on their mind when they're listening to this pirate episode.
How do you become Pirate King then?
We're going to get to it. Hold on. We have to go through his life. You're not born the Pirate King. All right. Let's see. He may have mentioned Thomas T's success capturing an enormous prize in the Red Sea only a year earlier. So, they weren't, they're quickly like, okay. Mm-hmm. God, each member would get one share of the treasure and the captain would get two, as we said in the Pirates episode. So it was like, we're not getting paid right now. So
this is a dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Avery then renamed Charles II to the Fancy, a name which reflected both the crew's renewed hope in their journey and the quality of the ship, and set a course for the Cape of Good Hope.
Mm-hmm.
But just think of that. They set a course to the Cape of Good Hope. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that was their hope. You know, like, that was a good hope for them because before they weren't getting paid for shit.
Yeah.
They weren't doing anything. And he's just like, yeah, I can offer you all of this.
Yep.
And then sets a course to the Cape of Good Hope. Do you know how good this man must have been as like a manipulator?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, yes, we're going to be set with good hope.
Yep.
He's like, set a course to the Cape of Good Hope.
Mm-hmm. And there we'll find the One Piece.
Really? God,
They're going to be full of references this episode because.
Oh God! All right. At Mao, the easternmost part of Cape Verde's Salvamento Islands, Every committed his first piracy, robbing 3 English merchantmen from Barbados of provisions and supplies. 9 of the men from these ships were quickly persuaded to join Every's crew, who now numbered about 94 men.
Wow.
So it's I don't know how big crews were back then, but it was pretty big.
Sounds like it'd be a pretty big crew, yeah.
Every then sailed to the Guinea coast, where he tricked a local chieftain into boarding Fancy under the false pretense of trade, and forcibly took his and his men's wealth.
That's messed up.
Leaving them slaves. God damn, yeah. So as you can see,
he went all in.
He's not the greatest man.
He's like, well, we might as well go all in.
Yeah. Continuing to hug the African coastline, Every then stopped at Bioko in the Bight of Benin. Like I said, I'm probably butchering these names, but they know where they are and who they are, where Fancy was careened and raised. Cutting away some of the superstructure to improve the ship's speed made Fancy one of the fastest vessels sailing in the Atlantic Ocean.
Nice.
So when they say careened, and like they literally like restructured the ship.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, because I think after a while they have to like scrape the barnacles off and all that crap, and because it slows them down, it's more drag. In October 1694, Fancy captured 2 Danish privateers near the island of Principe, stripping the ships of ivory and gold and welcoming approximately 17 more crew members on their ship.
Mm-hmm.
In early 1695, the Fancy finally rounded the Cape of Good Hope, stopping in Madagascar, where the crew restocked supplies, likely in the area of St. Augustine's Bay. The ship next stopped at the island of Johanna in the Comoros Islands. Here, Every's crew rested and took on provisions, later capturing a passing French pirate ship, looting the vessel and recruiting some of the 40 of the crew to join their own company.
Yep.
Every's total strength was now about 150 men.
Wow.
So he's just like recruiting now. He's like, I will be the freaking pirate king. Well, I'm sure he wasn't thinking that, but I mean, like, he's like, I'm going to be a badass pirate.
Yeah.
Captain. At Johanna, Every wrote a letter addressed to the English ship commanders in the Indian Ocean, falsely stating that he had not attacked any English ships. His letter described a signal English skippers could use to identify themselves so he could avoid them.
Nice.
This man is so smart, and warns them that he might not be able to restrain his crew from plundering their ships if they failed to use the signal.
Mm-hmm.
It is unclear whether this document was true, but it may have been employed by Every to avoid the attention of the East India Trading Company, those whose large and powerful ships were the only threat to the Fancy faced in the Indian Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, the letter was unsuccessful in preventing the English from pursuing him.
Wow.
So he
tried it.
Yeah, like, okay, so I thought, like, when I was researching that he did it so he could be like, let me point out the ships I want to take because they're going to have the most gold. No, he was just like, I don't want to face the English because the East Trading Company had, when, like, they were, for one, it was a horrible trading company. They were really bad to people around the world, and I don't think the slave trade would have been as big if it wasn't for them.
Probably not.
But they were a big deal. They were probably as powerful as the king at that point. The Grand Mongols fleet in 1695, every set sail for the volcanic island of Perim to wait for an Indian fleet that would soon be passing. The fleet was easily the richest prize in Asia, perhaps the entire world. And any pirates who managed to capture it would have been the perpetrators of the world's most profitable pirate raid.
Mm-hmm.
So this might be where he gets his name, the Pirate King.
I'm sure it is.
In August 1695, the Fancy reached the Straits of Bab el Mandeb, where Every joined forces with 5 other pirate captains. As we were saying in the Pirates episode, did they ever join the thing? The 2 on the sloop of war Amity with a crew about 60 men. Joseph Farrow on Portsmouth Adventure with 60 men. Richard Want on the Dolphin, also with 60 men. William Mays on the Pearl with 30 to 40 men. And Thomas Wake on Susanna with 70 men. All of these captains were carrying privateering commissions that implicated almost the entire eastern seaboard of North America. Every was elected admiral of the new 6-ship pirate flotilla.
Yep.
Despite the fact that 2 had arguably way more experience, and now found himself command of 440 men while they lay in wait for the Indian fleet. A convoy of 25 Grand Mongol ships, including the enormous 1,600-ton Ganj Asawa, with 80 cannons and its escort of the 600-ton Fatah Muhammad, were spotted passing the straits en route to Surat.
So this convoy is pretty well defended.
Yeah. Although the convoy had managed to elude the pirate fleet during the night, the pirates gave chase. The Dolphin proved to be far too slow, lagging behind the rest of the pirate ships. So it was burned and the crew joined Every on board the Fancy.
Oh, wow.
Amity and Susanna also proved to be poor ships. Amity fell behind and never again rejoined the pirate flotilla. 2 having been killed in the battle with a Mongol ship, while the staggering Susanna eventually rejoined the group. The pirates caught up with the Fatah Muhammad 4 or 5 days later. Perhaps intimidated by Fancy's 46 guns or weakened by the earlier battle with 2, Fatah Muhammad's crew put up little resistance.
Yeah.
Every's pirates then sacked the ship, which had belonged to the one Abdul Ghaffar, reportedly Surat's wealthiest merchant, while the Fatah Muhammad's treasure of some 50,000 to 60,000 pounds was enough to buy Fancy 50 times over. Once the treasure was shared out among the pirate fleet, every crew received only small shares. So, I mean,
at least they were still fair about it. They didn't try to.
No. Everyone got a fair share. Everyone got equal pay, except for the captain. Yeah. He got 2
shares. So,
and that famous picture of Every.
Yeah.
That's the Fancy showing engaged in pretty much of that battle. Every had now sailed in pursuit of the second Mongol ship, Ganja Asawa, meaning exceeding treasure. That's what it meant.
Cool. And now they exceedingly have their treasure taken.
Yeah, if you name your shit exceeding treasure
and somebody's going to come get
pirated.
God.
Overtaking it in a few days after the attack of the Fatah Muhammad. With Amity and the Dolphin left behind, only the Fancy, Pearl, and Portsmouth Adventure were present for the actual battle.
So, in that case, would only those 3 ships and crews get paid, or would the other 2 get paid even though they fell behind? Because I wouldn't pay the 2 that fell behind, if I'm being honest, because they didn't participate
they didn't do any of the work.
all.
No, if they didn't do any of the work, fuck them, that's bullshit. If you don't do the work, you don't get paid. This isn't communist Russia.
Yeah.
Ganja Asawa, captained by one Muhammad Abraham, was a fearsome opponent, mounting 80 guns and a musket-armed guard of 400, as well as 600 other passengers. The opening volley evened the odds, though, with the 3 ships and Every's ship. So, I mean, it was pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
Every's luckily broadside shot his enemy's main mast by the board. So like when they
crippled
go,
them.
they crippled them, so they couldn't sail away. They were unable to. The Ganja Asawa were unable to escape. Fancy drew alongside for a moment. A volley of Indian musket fire prevented the pirates from clambering aboard, but one of Ganja Asawa's powerful cannons exploded, instantly killing many and demoralizing the Indian crew, who ran below deck or fought to put out the spreading fires. Every's men took advantage of the confusion, quickly scaling Ganja Asawa's steep sides. The crew of the Pearl, initially fearful of attacking the Ganja Asawa, now took heart and joined Every's crew on the Indian ship deck. A ferocious hand-to-hand battle then ensued, lasting 2 to 3 hours.
God.
Yeah. Muhammad Hasham Kafa Khan, a contemporary Indian historian who was in Surat at the time, wrote that Every's men boarded the ship. Ganja Asawa's captain ran below the decks, where he armed the slave girls and sent them up to fight the pirates.
Oh my God!
Wow,
that's messed up.
Yeah.
Here, I know you're a slave and you have no reason to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and arm you so you can fight for us.
Yeah, basically use them as fodder. Yeah. Kafi Khan's account of the battle, appearing in his multi-volume work, The History of India, as told by its own historians, places blame squarely on Captain Ibrahim for the failure, writing, "The Christians are not bold in the use of the sword, and there were so many weapons on board of the royal vessel that if the captain had made any resistance, they must have been defeated."
Yeah. So he's basically saying that if they had fought back properly, Avery would never have taken the ship.
Yeah, absolutely. In any case, after several hours of stubborn but leaderless resistance, the ship surrendered. In his defense, Captain Ibrahim would later report that many of the enemy were sent to hell. Indeed, Every's outnumbered crew may have suffered anywhere from several to over 100 casualties, although these figures are uncertain, obviously.
Right.
According to Kafi Khan, the victorious pirates subjected their captives to an orgy of horror that lasted several days, raping and killing their terrified prisoners deck by deck.
Wow.
The pirates reportedly utilized torture to extract information from their prisoners, who had hidden the treasure in the ship's hold. Yeah. Some of the Muslim women apparently committed suicide to avoid violation, while those women who did not kill themselves or die from the pirates' brutality were taken aboard the Fancy.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah, so like I said, god damn, if these accounts are true, we don't know if they're true, but the historian said that, they are. Yeah. So, but again, unless you're there, you don't know. Although the stories of brutality by the pirates have been dismissed by sympathizers and sensationalism, they are corroborated by depositions of Every's men provided following their capture.
Yeah.
So it's probably somewhere in between. They probably did rape women. I mean, that's like the Vikings. They raped women. Yeah. It was just like, I guess,
pretty common practice back then.
I guess it's just one of those things that you want to forget about history.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can't because it's important to talk about.
With history, basically, to the conqueror goes the spoils, and that includes women.
And people, yeah.
Yep. People.
John Sparks testified in his last dying words and confession that the inhuman treatment and merciless tortures inflicted on the poor Indians and their women still affected his soul. That's a direct quote.
Yeah.
And that while apparently unremorseful for his acts of piracy, which were of lesser concern, he was nevertheless repentant for the horrid barbarities he had committed, though only on the bodies of the heathen. So that's a weird word, heathen. Like it's like their favorite word. Like when they were talking about indigenous people of America and also the Indians of India,
Vikings
and everything. Like everyone who, like, I guess wasn't them were heathens.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Middleton testified that several of the Indian men were murdered, while they also put several to the torture. And Avery's men lay with the women aboard, and there were several that, from their jewels and habits, seemed to be of better quality than the rest. So basically, they took the royals and the women of higher status. Furthermore, on the 12th of October, 1695, Sir John Gayr, then governor of Bombay and the president of the East India Trading Company, sent a letter to the Lords of Trade, writing, "It is certain that pirates, which these people affirm were all English, did not very barbarously by the people of the Ganja Sawah and Abdul Ghafar's ship to make them confess where their money was. And there happened to be a great Umbra's wife, as we hear, related to the king, returning from her pilgrimage of Mecca." Or
Mecca.
No, it's not Mecca. Is it Mecca?
Is it MC
No,
or
it's
MECCHA?
No, yeah.
It's
So
Mecca.
Okay, Mecca. In her old age, they abused very much and forced several other women, which caused one person of quality, his wife and nurse, to kill themselves to prevent their husbands seeing them.
Right.
As they were being ravished. So obviously that's Old English, so it didn't make sense. But basically, he was recounting what we just said, that they were raped, and many of them killed themselves not to be raped. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, if I had a choice to be raped to death or kill myself, I mean the option's pretty. It's pretty clear. Later accounts will tell that on how Avery himself had found something more pleasing than jewels aboard, using reported to be Mongol Emperor Azazib's daughter or granddaughter. According to the East Trading Company's sources, Ganja Asawa was carrying a relative of the emperor, though there is no evidence to suggest that was his daughter or any of
relative at all.
Yeah, any relative at all. However, these are the odds of the deposition of Philip Middleton, who testified that all of the Charles men, except Avery, boarded the Fateh Muhammad and the Ganja Asawa by turns. At any rate, the survivors were left aboard their emptied ships, which the pirates set free to continue on their journey back to India. The loot of the Ganja Asawa, the greatest ship in the Muslim fleet, totaled somewhere between 200,000 to 600,000 pounds, including 500,000 gold and silver pieces. All told, it may have been the richest ship ever taken by pirates.
Yep, and the another cool thing about Avery is the fact that he got away.
Yeah,
he was never captured, and he kept his.
That's why
treasure.
little is so known about him, because he was never captured.
Yeah, they couldn't question him,
and I think that's what makes him probably the most important pirate.
Yeah,
because he was never captured, and a lot of the more important pirates, like not more important, but the more known pirates like Blackbeard and
either died in battle
Captain
or
Kidd and all that stuff.
Captured and hung.
Yeah, absolutely. So like he is
the undisputed pirate king.
Yeah. Avery's pirates now busy themselves dividing their treasure, although it is sometimes reported that Avery used his phenomenal skills of persuasion to convince the other captains to leave the Mongol loot in his care, quickly slipping away into the night with the entire haul.
God, what a dick.
This comes from Charles Johnson's A General History of the Pirates, an unreliable account.
Yeah.
More reliable sources indicate that there was an exchange of clipped coins between the crews of the Pearl and the Fancy, with Avery's outraged men confiscating Pearl's treasure. Portsmouth Adventure observed that Portsmouth Adventure observed, but did not participate in the Battle of the Ganja Sawah. So Pharaoh's crew received none of its treasure.
Yeah, makes sense.
So like you were asking before, if you didn't participate, you didn't get any money. Yeah. Avery's men then gave Mays 2,000 pieces of 8, presumably an approximate sum as the treasure captured would have been in the Indian and Arabian coins of different denomination, to buy supplies, and soon parted company. The Fancy sailed for Bourbon, arriving in November 1695. Here the crew shared out 1,000 pounds, roughly 93,300 to 128,000 pounds today. So,
good bit of change.
And I don't know what the conversion is to American dollars from pounds, but I think it's like maybe like it's probably around the same thing.
Isn't it like $1.25?
No, ours I think is lower.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's like I know euros is like $1.25 to our dollar.
I'm not sure.
So I don't know. Anyways, it's a lot of freaking money for one person to have.
Yeah,
like $1,000 per or 1,000 pounds per crew member.
Yeah.
So that's $128,000 or pounds per person. That was God,
especially back then.
More money than most sailors made in their entire lifetime.
Yep.
On top of this, each man received an additional share of gemstones. As Every had promised, his men now found themselves glued with gold enough to dazzle the eyes.
Can you imagine? Like, they're like, okay, well, here's this dude that is trying to convince us that, you know, we're not getting paid here.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go and go to this Cape of Good Hope. We're going to find our things there, you know, our glory, our riches, whatever.
Yeah.
They sack a couple of things along the way or whatever, make a little money here or there. But then this dude actually delivers on his promise and makes all of them filthy rich. You know, most pirates, you know, I'm sure their captain said the same thing, and, you know, they never made anywhere near that kind of profit.
He literally, that take of those two ships was, like I said, the most profit that any pirates probably ever made in their entire lifetime.
Yeah.
However, this enormous victory had essentially made Every and his crew marked men.
Yep.
And there was a great deal of dispute among the crew about the best place to sail. The French and Danes decided to leave Every's crew, preferring to stay in Bourbon. The remaining men set course, after some dissension, for Nassau in the Bahamas.
Yep, the free port.
Yep. Every purchasing some 90 slaves and shortly before sailing. So
why did he purchase slaves? He's a pirate, and they obviously don't have any problems capturing slaves themselves. Why would he buy the slaves?
They were used for the ship's most difficult labor.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the most consistent item of trade. So if you have slaves on board, you can enter any trade port.
Yeah.
So it was I don't know, like, he wasn't a good man.
Yeah.
So so they could be later traded for whatever the pirates wanted, and in this way, Every's men avoided using their foreign currency.
Makes sense.
Which might reveal their identities.
Yeah, there you go.
So basically, used them as currency.
Yeah.
And
a cover.
That sounds so horrible. Just using people as currency.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Sailing from the Indian Ocean to the Bahamas was a journey halfway around the world, and the Fancy was forced to stop along the way at Ascension Island, located in the middle of the Atlantic. The barren island was uninhabited, but the men were able to catch 50 of the sea turtles that crawled ashore and to lay their eggs on the beach, providing them enough food for the rest of the voyage. Right. Oh, I thought they were going to be like Jack Sparrow and strap them all together.
Pull the ship along?
Yeah, with my back hair. Providing them enough food for the rest of the voyage. However, about 17 of Every's crew refused to go any further and were left behind in the island.
What? Why would you go?
Why would you refuse to go any further to be left on an uninhabited
deserted island with now no turtles because they ate them all?
I think they probably tried to mutiny. That would be my guess. Is they tried to mutiny and they're like,
they didn't want his leadership, which is stupid because they all got rich because of him. You think that they'd be happy with him?
Yeah, and I think if you're left, like, I don't know, I think the Danes and everything that left at that port probably got to keep their shares. But if they tried to mutiny, they probably took all of their shares.
Yeah,
and they got nothing.
Well, no, yeah, the ones that left amicably, you know, they were allowed to take their shares and just leave because that's how pirates were. You could leave at any point in time. You're not tied to service or stuck to service or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
the plunder from the Emperor Azazabib's treasure ship had serious consequences for the English. Coming at a time of crisis for the East India Trading Company, whose profits were still recovering from the disastrous Child's War. The East India Company, had seen its total annual imports drop from a peak of 800,000 pounds in 1684 to just 30,000 pounds in 1695. So that's a huge difference in pay. And Avery's attack now threatened the very existence of the English trade in India.
Nice.
Good for him. I want to say that. Like, that's one good thing that came out of that. When the damaged Ganja Asawa finally limped its way back to the harbor of Surat, news of the pirates' attack on the pilgrims and a sacrilegious act that, like the raping of the Muslim women, was considered the unforgivable violation of the Haji.
I can only imagine.
Spread quickly. The local Indian governor, Atimid Khan, immediately arrested the English subjects in Surat and kept them under close watch, partly as a punishment for their countrymen's depredations, and partly for their own protection from the rioting locals.
Yeah.
So basically, he did it for
even though
probably more for protection.
Even though they didn't have anything to do with the actual attack or anything like that, it's still they're English. The people that attacked them were English. It was safer just to.
Well, that and the rest of the people were angry.
Yeah, that's
they
what I'm
wanted
saying.
to kill them. So I think he did it more to
protect them.
Yeah. But it also made him look like, he's punishing them. A livid Asarangatabib quickly closed 4 of the English India Trading Company's factories in India and imprisoned the officers, nearly ordering an armed attack against the English city of Bombay, with the goal of forever expelling the English from India. Obviously, that didn't happen because they were there a lot longer than that. Even I think Gandhi was the one Gandhi was attributed to the English leaving India. To appease Aurangzeb, the East India Trading Company promised to pay all financial reparations, while Parliament declared the pirates hostis hastis humana generesi, enemies of the human race. Sorry, I do not speak Latin, so that was butchered, but that's what it means, the enemies of the human race. In mid-1696, the government issued a 500-pound bounty on Avery's head and offered a free pardon to any informer who disclosed his whereabouts. So a pardon back then was huge. I mean, because obviously they're wanted by any Englishman.
Yeah.
When the East India Trading Company later doubled that reward to 1,000 pounds, the first worldwide manhunt in recorded history was underway. The worldwide manhunt, I guess the first red notice for Interpol, that is ridiculous in history. So no other. Is that really? Cause,
worldwide? Yeah, it's
worldwide.
Possible.
Okay.
It's quite possible, yeah.
Because if you're enemy of Rome, I guess you were enemy of the known. That would be a known world. Okay, anyways. The crown also promised to exempt Avery from all acts of grace, and amnesties, and it would subsequently issue to other pirates, for instance, in 1698, as it was by now known that Avery was sheltering somewhere in the Atlantic colonies, where he would likely find safety among corrupt colonial governors. He was out of the jurisdiction of the East India Trading Company. This made him a national problem. According to the Board of Trade, was tasked with coordinating the manhunt for Avery and his crew. So basically, it was probably the most expensive manhunt too for that time period.
All for him just to say, well, sucks to be you guys. I'm going to dip set. See ya.
Absolutely.
Never caught.
Now, we can go on and on about Henry Avery's, big deal. He was literally the best pirate. There's no way. I mean, he paid people off. I mean, with the treasure he took from the Indian ships was enough to probably set him for life, but he was not done with pirating. He did a lot more pirating in the Bahamas. So basically, Avery disappeared.
Yeah.
Avery's his last words to his men were a litany of conflicting stories of where he planned to go, likely intended to throw his pursuers off his trail. It has been suggested that because Avery was unable to buy a pardon from the governor of Jamaica, his crew split up, some remaining in the West Indies and the majority heading to North America, and the rest, including Avery himself, returning to England. Avery himself, sorry. Returning to England. Of these, some sailed aboard the sloop Isaac, where Avery and about 20 other men sailed in the sloop Seaflower, captained by Farrow, to Ireland towards the end of June 1696. Well, 1696. They aroused suspicions while unloading their treasure, and 2 of the men were subsequently caught. Avery, however, was able to escape once again. So, God. Like you said, he has never been apprehended, or he never was apprehended. He got away completely clean, scot-free. But like I said, no reliable. They had a lot of stories about where he went.
Yeah.
But his whereabouts and activities never were. They had no idea where the frick he went.
Yeah.
Which, good on him. Good.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
He was like, "Yeah, I'm going back to England and just stayed in stayed in the Bahamas." But his career wealth was, like I said, unimaginable. With the Ganja Asawa ship, basically estimated from being the total value of that treasure that he took was 100,000 pounds to 875,000 pounds, and 500,000 pounds in gold, diamonds, and 375,000 pounds of other cargo. Because so altogether, about 875,000 pounds. That right there, that ship alone, in today's money, $400 million. So $400 million for that one.
Big money.
Yeah. The other ships that he took were between 50,000 to 60,000 pounds. So in modern currency, about $30 million. Yeah. So altogether, those 2 ships alone, $430 million. And that's just the ships that they absolutely knew that Avery took. He literally like I said, they pirated more, and there's unknown how much he made from the slave trade, because when he, like we said, he took slaves and used them as currency. And so, but he inspired an entire golden age of piracy. So not only was he the most popular or the most successful pirate, he also inspired an age of piracy like the world had never seen. So, and also his currency, when he got to the Bahamas, also boosted their economy.
Yeah.
To the point where it boomed.
Yeah.
And the free port, that's how they continue to be a free port. It just by, like, he was there spending money.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, yeah. And that's literally, he wasn't, okay, when we say Pirate King, we're not saying he ruled over pirates. Yeah. He's the Pirate King because he was
the best
pirate to ever live. Because, one, of his hauls, because of the $430 million.
And the fact that he was never caught.
Never trialed, never, like, he literally disappeared.
And how charismatic he was, how he was able to recruit pretty much anybody he came across, really. So, and how fair he was to his crew.
And so there's an argument to be said that, was he real?
Yeah.
Was he a real person?
Yeah,
was he a real pirate? There's little evidence about his before life.
No, there's
enough. Yeah, I know. There's enough. And again, he has many aliases. So my question is, was he one person or was he multiple people?
So you think it was like a coalition of just pirate captains? That
I think that they
the
just
name
took
Henry Avery as a
like a mantelpiece, almost like maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think he was one person, and I think he was good. He was like in the Vikings, Ragnar Lothbrok.
Yeah.
Many think that he didn't do everything that they said he did. Mm-hmm. It was just he just took credit for everybody, everything they did. So, I think that maybe that was it. Maybe that other pirates did shit and they didn't make it. So he was like, "Yeah, I did that."
No, I think he did it. I think he's a real person.
So I know you've been dying to do this. What similarities does he have to One Piece?
Everything, really, if you think about it.
All right, well, go ahead. I mean, this is your opportunity to talk about one of your favorite animes.
Oh, that's pretty good. Basically, you start out from the get-go with being just the Pirate King in general. The fact that he inspired... I have to look into it, but I'm pretty sure the guy that wrote One Piece, Oda, probably took his inspiration from Avery, if I'm thinking about it, because the One Piece could be their version of the Indian treasure ships.
Yeah.
Avery took the Indian treasure ships. Goldie Roger in the show took the One Piece, and that's what solidified him as Pirate King.
Yeah.
Also, now that in the show he was captured and killed, but he turned himself in because he was dying anyway. But that's besides the point. The whole point is the fact that they both inspired a entire golden age of piracy. After that, that's what set up,
so he was
inspiration for.
Okay, so he started off the entire show.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
just like Avery.
I guess that would probably be. But Avery, like we said, was never caught, never arrested, never even found out where he even freaking went. Right. So, yeah. So that was the Pirate King. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was we had a lot of information, but with him. The most notable was the Indian treasure ships, because he did use other pirates and took the best, probably the greatest treasure anyone's ever, the One Piece.
Yeah,
the last treasure anyone would ever need.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's probably how he spent it to the people, his crew. This is the last ship we ever need to take.
Yep.
And they also use that in Black Sails when they're trying to take that Spanish galleon. Spoilers if you haven't seen that show. But yeah, that was the final treasure they ever needed to take. So he has, the story of him has not only inspired a golden age of piracy back then, but it's also inspired a lot of movies and shows, obviously with One Piece and Black Sails and stuff. We just love pirates.
Yeah, that's weird.
I know, we just love pirates.
They're criminals. We like outlaws, too.
Yeah, we do. It's just weird. We have, something in our lizard brain that we root for the bad guy.
Yep.
But, like we said, he did do a lot of bad stuff. Raping women, regardless of their faith and nationality. Raping women is horrible. Slave trade, horrible. Like I said, he did really horrible stuff, but he was regarded as the Pirate King. So Thank you guys for listening to the Pirate King. We enjoyed researching Henry Avery. Avery.
It's both.
It's both. I've heard it both ways. So thank you guys. Follow the link below in the description of this episode, and you'll find all of our social media. You can email us directly from our link tree, which is the link below. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week for the 1 year anniversary. I'm super excited about that. I'm excited. So listen to our previous 2 episodes. I guess we're releasing 3 this week. So the Urban Legends, South Carolina, and the Creepypastas. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you for our 1 year anniversary.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.